I never thought I'd find myself here, caught in a storm I didn't see coming. My name is Jessica, and I'm 30 years old. A few weeks ago, my life veered off course, leaving me tangled in confusion and regret. This is my confession, an attempt to unravel the mess I didn't even realize I was creating until it was too late. It's been weeks since that night, and I'm still reeling. I didn't mean to push him so far, but I did. The frustration had been simmering for months, and it all boiled over in a single moment. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I didn't think my words would hit as hard as they did. But they did. And now, I'm left wondering where it all went wrong. It started as an ordinary evening at a friend's house. The atmosphere was light, laughing, drinking, and catching up like always. But Chad, my husband, wasn't himself. Normally the life of the party, he sat there, silent, staring at his beer like it held the weight of the world. At first, I thought he was tired or having a rough day. But as the night dragged on, his silence grated on me. We had so much going on. 2 kids, mounting bills, endless responsibilities, and I'd been juggling it all. Why couldn't he just snap out of it and be present? Why couldn't he be the Chad I knew? I threw him glances, nudged him to join in, but nothing worked. My frustration grew. Finally, in a misguided attempt to break the tension, I blurted out something I can't even fully remember. It was meant as a joke, or at least I told myself that, but it wasn't funny. Not to Chad. The room went silent. Laughter died in awkward chuckles. Chad froze, his face a mixture of hurt and disbelief. Then, without a word, he got up and walked out. At first, I brushed it off. He just needed to cool down, right? But when he didn't come back that night, or answer my calls the next day, reality began to sink in. Then he missed our kids' soccer game, something he'd never done before. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a bad mood. Something deeper was breaking. I told myself he was overreacting, that it was just one comment. But guilt started creeping in. I began replaying everything in my mind. Our arguments, the stress, the ways I leaned on him without even realizing. Had I been pushing him for years, not just that night? Days later, Chad finally called. His voice was flat, emotionless. I need some space. The words felt like a slap. I wanted to argue, to beg, to fix it, but his tone stopped me cold. He wasn't angry, he was exhausted. You've been pushing me for a long time, Jess, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm tired. His words forced me to confront a truth I'd avoided for years. I'd been taking him for granted. Every mistake, every mess, I expected him to fix it. I thought that was his job as my husband, my partner. I never realized the toll it was taking on him. For years, I'd leaned on Chad, piling on my worries, frustrations, and mistakes, without ever stopping to consider how much pressure I was putting on him. And now he'd reached his limit. When we finally sat down to talk, his exhaustion was written all over him. He looked like a stranger, tired, distant, and worn down in a way I hadn't seen before. I can't keep doing this, Jess, he said, his voice quiet but resolute. You keep pushing, and I keep trying. But I'm done. His words hit like a wrecking ball. For the first time, I saw the cracks in our relationship, the ones I'd ignored, thinking we'd always bounce back. But this time, Chad wasn't bouncing back. He was tired of being the fixer, the glue holding us together. As he spoke, I felt the weight of years of mistakes, arguments, and carelessness pressing down on me. Apologies felt hollow, inadequate. I'd said I'm sorry so many times before, but this wasn't something a simple apology could fix. Chad wasn't asking for perfection. He was asking for effort, for me to take responsibility, to stop expecting him to carry everything on his shoulders. And for the first time, I truly understood how much I had failed him. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know if I can fix what's broken. But I know one thing. I can't keep running from the truth. If there's any chance of moving forward, I have to start owning my part in this, even if it's too late. I was truly sorry. Before I could say a word, he spoke. His voice was quieter now, but there was still so much weight in his words. Do you realize how much damage you've caused, Jessica? He asked, his tone calm but firm. You don't see it, do you? How much I've tried to fix things. How much I've tried to make this work. But every time you say something, every time you act without thinking, it's like you're chipping away at everything we've built. His words hit me harder than anything before. I had never seen it that way. To me, they were just small frustrations, but to him, they were so much more. My actions, my words, they were damaging him, and I hadn't even realized it. I didn't mean to hurt you, I said, my voice shaky. It was the only thing I could manage, but it wasn't enough. It never was. You don't mean to hurt me, he replied, his gaze sharp, but you keep doing it. You keep pushing me away, without even realizing it. Do you think I'm just supposed to sit back and take it? That's not how this works. Not anymore. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to tell him I was under pressure too, that I was doing my best. But deep down, I knew it wasn't true. I wasn't doing my best. I was running away from accountability. I was being selfish. I never wanted to push you away, I said, my voice breaking. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I mess up. I know I do. But I never meant for it to get like this. He didn't respond right away, and for a moment, the silence between us felt suffocating. Then he sighed deeply and spoke again, his voice quieter, almost resigned. I don't know if you get it, Jess. I don't know if you're ever going to get it. You say you're sorry, but your actions don't match your words. I don't know how much longer I can keep trying to fix things if you don't even seem to care about what you're doing. It's exhausting. His words stung, but they were true. Every time I messed up, I expected him to forgive me and move on. I never really tried to change. I never thought about how much it was wearing on him. I hadn't been a partner. I had been a burden. I don't want to lose you, Chad, I whispered, my voice barely audible. For the first time, I realized how much I was about to lose. My family, my life, my children. All because I couldn't stop messing up. I don't know what you want from me anymore, he said, his tone cold, shutting down. You're not the woman I married. I don't know who you are anymore, and I don't know if I can keep doing this. His words weighed on me like a stone. He was done. He had tried, but I hadn't. And now I was losing everything. I sat there, frozen, unable to speak, the silence between us thick with the reality of what I had done. Chad, I whispered, desperation in my voice. Please don't leave me. He shook his head slowly, his jaw tightening. I'm not leaving you, Jess, he said, his voice strained. But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending everything's okay when it's not. You're breaking me. His words were a knife to my chest. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I fought them back. I couldn't let him see me break down.
Not now.
Not here. I had messed up so many times, and now I was finally seeing the weight of it. The realization of how far things had fallen was a heavy fog in my chest. I'm sorry, I said, my voice trembling. I messed up. I know I did, but I don't know how to fix this. How do I fix this? He sighed, rubbing his face, his exhaustion palpable. You can't fix it in one day. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to be fine.
There's so much damage, Jess.
I've given everything to this family, to us, but I can't keep giving if you're not even trying to meet me halfway. His words felt like a punch to my chest, each one a stark reminder of how far apart we had drifted. I wanted to scream, to beg him to understand that I hadn't meant to ruin everything. But I knew he was right. I hadn't been trying. I had made excuses, avoided responsibility, and blamed everyone but myself. Chad, please, I pleaded, my voice desperate. I'll do anything. I'll change. I swear I will. Just give me a chance. He stared at his coffee cup, the weight of my words hanging in the air. His eyes held exhaustion, not anger anymore, just weariness. I don't know if I can believe you, he said quietly. Every time I think you'll change, you do something else. It's like you're not even listening. His words crushed me. The woman I had become wasn't someone I even recognized anymore, and the truth terrified me. I had crossed the point of no return. I know I've messed up, I whispered, my voice trembling as I choked back a sob. But I still love you. Please don't walk away from me. For a brief moment, his eyes softened, and I saw a flicker of the man I used to know. But then the walls came back up, and his resolve hardened. "I can't keep doing this, Jess," he said. "I need someone who'll stand by me, someone who'll be there for me. I've given everything, and I'm empty. I have nothing left to give." And just like that, I knew it was too late. He stood up from the table, and it felt like the ground cracked beneath me. "I'm sorry, Jess," he said softly, "but I'm done." He walked away, and in that moment, everything I had feared came true. I had pushed him too far. I had lost him, and I had no one to blame but myself.